And we are live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. Our mission at Deal Champs is to empower and inspire listeners by highlighting real life deals from real people across the nation. We also do interviews with incredible entrepreneurs, experts in their field, and we aim to provide valuable insights and actionable tips to help our audience achieve their own business and financial goals. Quick round of introductions. I'm your co-host, Dean Rogers. For those that don't know me, I transitioned from the NFL to then corporate to then real estate, and been investing in real estate a decade now in Central California. I've done 550 plus deals and growing, and have a rental portfolio almost $10 million, and been coaching students how to get started and create successful businesses. You guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com. And then we've got, as Stratton Brown likes to say, the master of hair, Mr. Jason Pritchard. Jason, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's your other co-host, Jason Pritchard. For those of you that don't know me, worked in corporate America for about 15, 16 years, and eventually burned all the ships, went full-time into real estate investing in late 2014. Since then, we've done probably 400 flip and wholesale deals, own a rental portfolio of about 100 units. Really, really excited to have Indar on the show today because he's doing all of the big, sexy properties that everybody likes when they turn on the TV and watch all the flipping shows. So very cool to have Indar on, man. We're excited to have you to share with our audience, man.
Yes, sir. Indar, why don't you, Mr. Hawaii himself, why don't you give just like the 10,000 foot, bullet point introduction, and then we'll get into your story here in a second.
It's cool to share my hello, everybody, but I feel like I'm so relatable to you guys. I mean, I've been about the same as you guys, and we're all about the same here. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I've been flipping since 2013. I met Dean actually a long time about that same beginning, I think 2015 or something, one of those events, educational events we went to. I've only done about 125 fix and flips here in Hawaii, but we average $1 million of flips. So we do little high-end type of flips. Everyone said you couldn't do Hawaii, and I was going to be the one that figured it out. And I just been figuring it out ever since. Primary fix and flip, and now we do a lot of rentals, up to 160 doors. I own a shopping center and own multifamilies across the U.S., and we flip across the U.S., primary in Hawaii. But I love fix and flipping, but my model is now more for buying and hold, getting rentals, getting passive income, cash flow,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, awesome. Now, guys, if you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you guys leave us a 5-star review. And then you can follow all of us on Instagram. You've got at Jason Pritchard, at Dean Rogers Real Estate, and at Indar Hawaii. Let's see. If you guys are also watching this live and you're on Facebook, we'd love to see who's leaving comments. So you guys can do that if you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. So let's get started. You've got a lot of super cool things going on. You and I have known each other for a long time. And for a number of years, you just had your head down, working on deals. Yep. I remember just kind of getting updates here and there. And then boom, you exploded. You cracked the code. You figured it out. And you got big time, dude. And I was just like, this is so cool to watch how, all of our journeys, every single one of us, Jason, myself, Indar, we all put in the work. We all kept swinging the bat. We made mistakes. We were trying to get traction, and then the overnight success. So it's been so fun to watch your journey. What was it for you?
I only started posting on Instagram not until a couple years. I was always a grinder, work on your business, grow your business. And then I did social media later. And I kind of wish I did social media sooner, but yeah.
I'm the same, dude. I was the same way. You gotta share the journey and start from the beginning, document the journey. But what was it for you, man? Because you said you felt like you were the one that had to figure out these $1 million super sexy flips in really expensive, really tough market of Hawaii, where there's not a lot of properties. There's not the same type of traditional buyers. How did you figure that out?
I mean, there was no one scaling, no one doing it. There was people who do 1 or 2 a year in Hawaii, and no one scaled. Everyone said it's too expensive. We have a high capital raise per deal, so how can you scale that? We're carrying 16 flips right now, about 30 million in fix and flips, so I have to raise a lot of capital.
That's so much.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So the capital raise was hard, but there was no one to look up to, and everyone said you can't. And to me, I just seen opportunity, seen, hey, there's no one doing this. Why not it be me? And early on, I had this mentor. He told me once I was doing this fix and flip, and it needed to be teared down, and I was so scared of doing it. And he said, hey, you make 60 grand on this, or you make nothing. Somebody's going to do this deal, so it might as well be you. And I always think that same thought, like somebody's going to do this project, either you or somebody else. And I always just took that to heart. That's what I look at as a deal. If I told you right now, I'll pay you 100 grand to figure out this deal, would you do it? And answers most of the time, yes, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that way is often.
Yeah. So what was that like in the beginning? Did you struggle a lot? Did you just kind of you figured it out and you got deals, or did you have to kind of like find your footing to find the properties, to raise the money, to pick the right properties, to get them sold, to pick the right finishes? Like, I don't know if you just were creative and had good design at the beginning, or
we came from that same kind of program. And I think that was, real estate's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty simple to grasp and understand, but it was just nice to have an educational program to just lay it out step by step. Hey, I got to find a deal, find the money, learn about hard money, and just a step process. It was nice to lay it out in front of me. I feel like real estate, sometimes it's its own little language, little world. We're loose right now. Us three can have a general, easy conversation, but some of the terms and stuff I remember, I was like, what is escrow? What is closing? I remember those days, and now I'm in commercial, and I think I'm back to the same. They use so many acronyms in commercial. And I remember at the beginning, it was just like this new language, new world to it all. And I think the best way for learning is by doing, taking the action. That's what separated me from the other people that there's 30 people that signed up in my group. And I was the only one that just took the action. I kind of just stumble forward. I just do it now and figure it out later. And I just kind of stumble forward and figure out the mistakes as you go, and I still today, that's like my personality. If I have to do something, I do it now, and I don't like push it off. It's just kind of my nature.
That's a little nugget right there, because I call that, building the muscle memory of taking action. If you procrastinate and tell yourself you'll do it later, chances are you won't, and you'll get not as good of a result. But if you train yourself to just take action when you need to do something, even if you're nervous about it or anxious about it, or feeling like you're not prepared, I think that's such a great thing that you recognize, is just doing it now. That will give you infinite returns by just building that muscle.
Agree 100%. It's that confidence that you need. Because I tell people like that all the time, even when we're leveling up to do deals that we're not used to doing now, we're figuring it out as we go. But we've given ourselves the confidence by starting like with our very first house, right? And then eventually you graduate to commercial and apartments and things like that. But we all start from somewhere, and we're always figuring it out, man. So that's a great piece of actionable advice. Are you from Hawaii, Indar? Is that how you ended up in that market? And so talk to us about that, because I'm sure people were trying to talk you out of like investing over there because of the price points and stuff. So how did you overcome all of that kind of that scariness at the beginning with the high price market?
There's this guru on Instagram, I won't say his name, but he's always like cutting down other markets, and he's saying this market's the best or that market's the best. To me, you can find a deal in any market. Any market, you can find a deal. It can be in Alaska. I mean, that's probably, actually, I think Alaska is a great market, but
not Alaska though.
There's deals everywhere, and the one thing with real estate, there's always people that need housing. There's houses that need to be bought and sold, people getting foreclosed on and falling behind in any type of market. Even, when our market was crashing here in the last 6 months, 8 months, all of us investors recognize, hey, we're investors. We're going to still find deals. We're not going to, close up shop and, run away. So it was just thinking that there is availability, the mindset of abundance. I think there is, I can, I will, I must, there is deals out there. And I remember 5 years ago, I was kicking myself in the butt for not finding, getting rentals here in Hawaii. And I used to tell myself, there's no good rentals here in Hawaii. It's hard to find a 1% rule. I used to say that to myself. I can't find, and I was 100% right. If I tell myself I can't find and there is not, you're 100% right. And now today, I'm always like, there's abundance. I can find, there are deals out there. And that's where I think it starts for everybody, and I'm to this day, like I find myself worrying about something, and I have to change my mindset. There's abundance of money. There's whatever, that's that positivity mindset. I still correct myself today all the time.
So I guess here's a question. I have a follow-up one. So I hear the same thing, because we're in California, not necessarily our market, Central California, but you go to SoCal, you go to the Bay Area, right? Yeah, we're all, very, very expensive. And so we hear the same things. Talk about finding deals, right? So does the same direct to seller stuff that everybody's doing work in a more expensive market like that? Is it more relationship based? Is there something else that you need to do to find that initial deal? How do you go about doing that in a market like Hawaii?
Well, me and Dean came from that same background, and I remember they were preaching to be like experts in one niche. I remember they were kind of preaching being expert in finding deals in one way, and I never did do that. I just kept my feelers out to everything. I was cold calling and bandit signs and marketing galore. Tried the radio. I just constantly am trying to get my marketing out there. And to me, a marketing is a big funnel. The more this feelers and the calling agents and whatever, it just trickles in from Instagram, whatever. It's just you're putting your feelers out there. People often think, oh, my webpage is not doing anything, I'm not getting leads, but often it may be just one of the ways the leads are just slowly trickling down. And early on, I had no money, and I just cold called agents. Right? I just called a ton of agents, and that's cost me free. I mean, that agent's, he's doing the marketing, he's paying for the list, and he's cold calling, and yeah, I was just like, I'll ride off of his coattails, and that's a free way, of course. But deals that's the hardest part of business, of course.
Yeah,
of course, yeah. Finding the deals. Do you guys have wholesalers out there? Are there people out there doing that? Do you find deals from them?
People try, but it's a hard industry, because they're only 1 or 2, 3 or 4. Most of the wholesalers are just some of the high level guys will sometimes sell between each other. I'm not going to sell off the easy projects. I'm going to sell the really hard one. The lipstick and the kind of projects I'm doing myself. So I'll sell off some of the hard ones. I just paid last year. I paid a guy $100,000 for a wholesale deal. We'll make 2 off of it. So I'm fine with paying $100,000 sometimes for a deal. Depends on the deal, but we wholesale to each other once in a while. People try and come in. A lot of new guys try. But it's definitely a harder market to do. I tried wholesaling nationwide last year. I shut down when the market shifted. But wholesaling, you're great at it, Dean. It's the hardest part is finding your end buyer. A lot of people don't talk about. Sometimes you can lock it up, but can you sell that deal off? And can they close?
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost like you need to work backwards, right? You find your end buyer and then work backwards.
Yeah, no, there's a whole process to it.
Yeah. You're the expert at that. I shut my machine down. I was spending $20,000 a month, and oh man, so much time with the VAs and everything. And I went back to focusing on what I'm great at, fixing and flipping, so I shut my wholesaling machine down and stick to what I'm good at.
So I wanted to ask you, how long were you flipping and, finding success with that until you decided to get good at something else, or to expand
Mhm.
your investment strategies in real estate? So how long was it until you started buying rentals, until you started getting into commercial type of investments?
I mean, I bet we're all the exact same here. We all kick ourselves in the butt early on to should have kept more rentals, should have been focusing on some other stuff. I mean, we're probably all guilty of this shiny object syndrome sometimes. We get deals coming
Hmm.
in from, outside of your realm or scope work. And sometimes a deal is so good, you just kind of figure it out. I get a lot of deals across the US, and I throw some stupid lowball offers at it because I really don't want the deal. And then I maybe lock it up and then I'll figure it out. Often that's what we kind of do is figure it out. And, as anyone grows in this business, you kind of start meeting great people and you get other ideas thrown at you from, I don't know, I've had my contractors throw me a cabinet company at me he wanted me to partner with. And as you just get success in life, I think you kind of grow. So it's hard sometimes to stay focused, and one thing, and continue at it because you kind of get that shiny object syndrome sometimes. We try, and I'm sure all of us has tried other things that, we just try. We're entrepreneurs, of course. So
What
I tried
was
the
the
drop thing. That didn't work.
Yeah, we all get that shiny object syndrome every once in a while. I think it's just in our nature to keep kind of looking at other things. And same thing with me, man. I've come back to just like this is what works, and let's keep going. So
Yeah,
talking about
we
those,
all got wrecked on drop shipping.
yeah, I know it was tough, man. Jeez.
Yeah. It looked cool.
What
It sounded easy.
was the raising money component hard for you, Indar? I know, like out here, right? Like people struggle with like it's a couple $100,000 raised to do a simple project out here. You're probably high six
Yeah.
figures, maybe minimum seven figures, right? To just do one deal, right? So how
Yeah,
did that
yeah.
process work for you? Because I think a lot of people will struggle just with the idea of I need to go borrow $1 million to even fund this project. How did that work out?
Man, it's always, I mean, I don't want to say it's ever easy. It's always hard. And
Yeah.
I think as we scale and grow, I'm doing a flip, multifamily flip here in Hawaii, and we got to raise 1.2 million raise. But I just did a raise of 2 million just a couple months ago. And so I guess as we talked earlier, that muscle just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I get more comfortable at raising more. And I just feel like that's how I keep progressing is not overnight. My first deal we raised, I think 90,000 or something like that on my first one, to fill the gap. We just have bigger gaps to fill here on our deals, and just slowly keep progressing and raising more. It's the hardest part of business. It's definitely the hardest part. Finding deals, finding money, is definitely the two challenging of the business. But if you got a great deal, you'll find the money. If you're a great deal and a great security for those investors. For anyone out there listening, I think the best ninja tip I can share is just to talk about your deal. Talk about what you do. Be in an elevator, a restaurant. If you're searching for money, just talk about it to people, about that deal. You never know where money will come from, or people know people. It's we do it a little differently, of course, than syndicators. We do a little differently in how we do it. So we won't go there.
Is it typical, Indar, for like a larger deal like that? Do you bring in one private investor and fund the whole thing? Or is it more typical to bring in like a hard money lender to fund like a big chunk of it, and then you bring private money in like second position to fill a gap? Or are you sharing equity with your investors? How do you structure it with some of these more expensive deals? Because like out here, we'll typically just pay rate and term, just straight interest across the board. We're not letting the investors participate in equity, but maybe on a multi-million-dollar deal, that's maybe standard. I don't know. So share a little bit with that as far as deal structure on the financing side for the people that are watching.
No, we just do a debt structure of all our funds. So we'll have the hard money come in. And I even preach this. I see some of those guys in the Midwest where they're buying, $200,000 properties. I think you should still always use the hard money and use your gap funding of that investor, because then it allows you to do more compared to you had, $200,000 property and they can have a hard money fund 80% of that deal and you only have to raise maybe 30, 50 grand compared to taking an investor at 200 grand. It just allows you to do more with that investor, because I'm in for the velocity of money. The quicker I can move money to use it to make more money, the more I can make, more and my investors can make, the quicker we can all make more money. So I literally have my project manager's job in the field is to turn that money. The quicker we can turn a project, the quicker we can, instead of one project a year, now you can do 2 projects a year. But yeah, we structure 80% and then the investors funding the gap, the rest of the deal. And we do a promissory note and a mortgage deed. I probably have the same one Dean does because it came from the same place. And we record them on a second position against the property with a mortgage to secure them to the property.
Nice.
Yeah. That makes sense. I guess to stretch that money further, especially when you're dealing with those kind of price points, that is probably the best way to structure it. That's a good way to understand it. Would you say raising private money is one of the most important things for you in your line of business with flipping houses, with the price points that you're in? Would you say that's been one of the most important things, maybe one of the most challenging things, or maybe one of the things you're best at? What would you say about that?
I think all of the above. I say I'm good at it, but I don't know if I love it. I'm good at it. I'm pretty good at it. But I think in anyone in this business, as we grow bigger, to do more, to do bigger projects, we continually have to raise more. And at a certain point, you go outside of your network of people, and now you're reaching out to your people you don't know, and that's when it gets really more challenging, because now you're building relationships, you're building rapport with people. I've tried everything. I've gotten lines from banks, and I have lines of credit with banks, personal lines, HELOCs with banks, revolving credit lines with $500,000 with a bank. I've tried factor rate loans, stay away from those. I've tried all kinds of different, products out there with lending, and, of course, raise capital with people. I've tried everything. I've done the credit card game of 150,000 in credit cards where I can draw off of that, and using plastic to line off of that. I'm in the business of leveraging money from the banks, hard money people, and using that to make more money. The more we can leverage and find, the more money I feel we can make. And that's what ultimately in the business of being a professional money finder, I think is probably my job title, to allow us to grow together. And, one thing I think bothered me sometimes is I hated asking people for money, because you want to do it all yourself. You want to use all your own money, but really you're providing a great and safe vehicle for other investors out there, other people out there. You're secured by real estate. It's safer than the stocks, or good luck with Bitcoin, all that crap. But it's a safe vehicle for people. Real estate's so easily to understand for everybody. You buy low and sell high. It's not, it's not rocket science sometimes. And, the coolest thing about real estate is you always look smart in a 10-year span or 20-year span or whatever it is. If you buy real estate, you always look like a smart guy in 20 years.
Yeah, that's right.
You could have bought the worst deal ever. But
what are the unique challenges of flipping on the island? I mean, if you've got 30 mil out, cash management obviously has got to be a big deal. You've got that pref rate that you've got to pay every single month. That's obviously not cheap when you're borrowing that much money, right? Yeah. You're on the island. Are there material constraints? Are there contractor constraints? Like, what are the unique things about managing a project? Because we want to get in and out of a project in 6 to 8 weeks, typically out here. Are you guys turning stuff that fast? I have to imagine it probably takes longer, or no?
It depends on the project. Of course, I do some really high end. I think we're selling this $4 million house coming up here. And, that took us 9 months to a year, just rehab alone. I do cheaper stuff, $200,000, $300,000 condos and smaller stuff. So we can be in and out of that. regards to material, yeah, we have to pivot a lot. Window sizes are not in stock, so we have to get what's in stock. Tile choices. I don't have much. I have Home Depot and Lowe's, so you just have to pivot. Obviously, Amazon was a game changer because you can get everything off of Amazon nowadays.
Yeah.
For materials. So you just have to make it work with what you got. You guys have a harder time than me because you have to do more of a detailed high-end type of flip. If somebody's paying $2 million in a certain neighborhood, they're looking for that. I don't know your market, but they're looking for the hardwood and the
Super
marble.
custom. Yeah.
They're looking for all that stuff. Here, $2 million, you're paying to live by the ocean. You just have to have a nice, clean new house. They're paying for location. So location is actually more of the price point wire.
Doesn't have to have all the sexy high-end finishes, huh?
No. There's this flipper dude a long time ago. He would do like Frigidaire and that dollar, like 12 by 12 tile. He'd be selling in like this $1.5 million houses. And I'm like, but they would sell because it was just new, nice and clean, but it was by the ocean, so people want location here is almost more important. Get rid of the termites.
Are contractors harder to find out there than out here? Like, and how does that work as far as labor prices? I have to imagine I can't.
Indar just posted about that.
Yeah, that's a struggle. Yeah, that's always a struggle. I have a contractor's license myself, so I came up in the trades. That's kind of my background. So that's my cheat code sometimes in the business.
There you go.
But on the outer islands, we struggle. We struggle on the outer islands to find good contractors. Guys who want to work, it's a struggle. There's some hacks I do. I was on Maui and I was on the way out, got a flip over there. And on the way out, I stopped by the Home Depot and I put a contractors needed sign up at Home Depot on the stop sign, get your phone blown up there. Or, you can ask around, of course. But I feel like you're always, if you've been in this business long enough, like contractors kind of have a lifespan sometimes because you're building this machine. You're giving these guys a ton of work. Over 4 or 5 years, they now got a huge office and a staff, and they get too expensive for you. It's a love-hate business. They want the highest price and you want the lowest priced, so it's a hard business. I hate to say it, I love foreigners. Foreigners are always anyone from outside of US, they're hard workers. They want to work Saturdays, Sundays, and they'll do anything to get that job done. Sometimes the local guys get too big and they can't keep up with your project and they forget about you. They're there the first week and they're off on the second week to another project. It's nothing personal. They're just trying to grow their business. Yeah. And I get it. But
Tell us about the surfing clause in the contracts. You posted about that.
Oh, geez. Yeah. If the surf's up, everyone's going to be at the beach, myself included. So I'm a little relaxed sometimes on my timelines. I think too relaxed sometimes. That's my personal downfall. We're not as strict as deadlines as I should be because, things happen. You got to go surf if the waves are up. We're all at the beach. So, we're a little laid back here in Hawaii.
Yeah.
How much would you say when it comes to selling the houses and getting the houses ready, how much are you selling the lifestyle versus, just your normal nice house? I think you kind of talked about it already, but like how much of that plays into it? Like, are you trying to make these houses custom for the beach lifestyle and change some of those older styles, or?
More so Ohanas are here in Hawaii. We often have in-laws. It's very family. A lot of families live in together. So most of the houses will structure them in the design. If we can have a potential, unit that could be rented or mother-in-law kind of suite. So often I'll try to find a home where we can have that. You don't want to cut it off for one or the other. You kind of want to design it so they could lock that door and have that as a rental, or B, have that as an in-law or an older kid that's living. A lot of kids here live at home, stay with their parents for a long time. I didn't move out until I was like 25, I think. So a lot of here in Hawaii, because it's expensive, they stay at home. And so I do like to cater a house more for that that way. They sell fast. Those types of houses always sell fast.
Do you guys specifically identify? I know you'll see this like in SoCal and some of the more expensive markets out here where they're identifying like properties where they can specifically add an ADU and things like that. I've heard the same thing about how the Ohanas add value to those. So do you add those on there? Is that easy to do, or is it ones where you have to buy them where they're already existing?
Yeah, I wish it was easy to do. No, I don't. I just, with my buddy in Oregon, and they do dadus. Our permitting process is such a messed up thing here that I would, but they're harder. It's just I'm more of a deal by deal basis. Like we'll make any deal work. It's just more of a numbers game to anything. We do where we've bought in so many houses in certain neighborhoods. Like I've flipped houses literally next door to each other that I create my own comps. A lot of times I know a neighborhood so well that, hey, we have this coming to the market. We're going to have this one coming behind it. Like we'll play the control of the neighborhood kind of game where we're creating our own comps. We're same paint, same colors. So it's easy to create your own comps pretty strong. And that's been really helpful to control the market, that area.
So at what point did you transition from just focusing on flips to starting to buy rentals, starting to buy more units? And then I know there was like a big purchase that really upped the number of units you had. And then I want to ask more about some of your other stuff too. But what point did you did the light bulb go off and say, okay, I'm in a better financial place to do it. I know I need to do it. It's time to do it. What was that whole thing?
Man, I struggled early on with that. I struggled hard because I was always in the, I'm a gratitude now kind of guy. I want it now. Like I want to make this flip and I want to make $100,000 now. We make some pretty hefty profits on our flips. And oh man, I buy that rental. I'm only going to make like $500 a month. Like, man, I should just flip that thing, and that was a struggle because I didn't know at the time about all the other benefits, the cost segregation studies, the tax write-offs, the expenses that we can shove into those rentals, or just, man, I was flipping for a while and I had things but I had nothing to show for it. I didn't have a net worth. I didn't have, you guys know, we go to these groups now, they don't give a shit about how much you made a year. They want to know your net worth,
Right.
And I didn't have that. And so just, wanting to grow that side and recognizing that, my rental sides could be passed down to kids. This is generational build now. We're building a legacy, when we buy rentals. The flipping is a job and you got to keep doing it. And it's a job, it's a hustle, and it's a every day in, day out grind. And, the rental properties, it's work, but obviously a lot less work. And it's just generating passive income. And then 2019, I actually did my first cost segregation study, and I was a freaking game changer, man. I was paying a ton of taxes, and I didn't realize you can cost seg even just like single family houses, Right. I always thought it was like shopping centers or something. And I did a cost seg study, and that was the game changer for me. And I've been hooked ever since. I buy these assets just for the tax savings, the cost segs. And it's a different game now, I guess.
Did that kind of shift in mindset happen? I heard you say something earlier, Indar, about just getting in the right groups, right? And that's how I think, I know I got connected with you, getting around Alex and other guys like Dean, right? And it really, for me, it added the same perspective where it shifted and you really saw what it takes to get to the next level. So is it simple for you as just kind of getting in the room, getting in proximity of other people that were doing these things that you wanted, and then the light bulb went off, or was it something else for you?
Actually, I had this funny story. I remember early on. So Dean's about a year ahead of me in the program, and we were at a dinner or restaurant or somewhere. I think San Diego. It was one of the events, and these were huge events. I mean, we had like 10, 20,000 people there, and I looked up to Dean because he was doing it. He was crushing it, and I just wanted to hang around with Dean, Hector, these other guys, Chad. And I was just did one flip and I just wanted to be around them. I think one or two or something. And it's the same thing to this day. I just want to be around people who are doing it. and being around people who are like-minded. It's something about like if us three were just to cruise and hang out, like we would just relate so fast because we've struggled to, we know the struggles. We have that same drive to do the same things, and we love the same thing. We love real estate, in general, and I think just being around those people, and more so, you guys like would know the same struggle I had. If I shared my real struggles, personally with you guys, I'm sure you guys would just like click like that, and you would know how that feels inside. And I think that just brings us so closer together in some of these groups where we can help each other and grow together. And I was at another meetup. I'm with Brandon's group, and we're at dinner, and the conversation is not about, oh, how's your day going? It was, what's your goals for the next quarter? What are you going to do to get there? What can I do to help? And these guys are millionaires, so I'm like, man, this is like people I need to be around.
It's cool. And that was very insightful, dude. And I don't hear a lot of people say that when you talk about networking. It's all of it is abundance and the help that you get, but it's the common understanding of some of the struggles and stuff. Because we deal with one of the things that people don't realize when they look at social media is they see the highlight reel and they don't understand that the level of problems rise concurrently with your level of success. So it doesn't get any easier. It gets harder. In my experience, it does, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's very hard for other people to relate to the types of issues that you have. And one of the things that you get when you either pay to be in those rooms or you just put yourself in there through active networking is getting around people that can understand where you're coming from. That's a good takeaway, dude. I really,
you got to weed them out too. You
yeah,
weed them
that's
out
right.
too.
Yeah.
If we were just in a random room together, you kind of got to weed them out, because half the people may be, asking about escrow, but you want to be around that other half that's asking about how do I scale my business, how to hire, how do I grow, how much do I pay my employees?
That's right.
I think the hardest part sometimes.
So one thing you mentioned subtly was that you just bought a shopping center. So I remember you posting about it, and I was just kind of like watching with each update you posted about it, and I'm like on the edge of my seat too with popcorn, wondering like, are you gonna get this deal closed? What's going on?
8 months, man. It was tough.
Break
Commercials
down
and
that whole deal for us. Break down the whole deal for us, like what it was like, what the experience was like, what some of the numbers were like. Tease us with this deal.
Well, we bought a $5.5 million shopping center at a 12 cap. 12 caps are extremely good in the commercial world. It's a market I was looking at, I'm interested in, and it just got better and better as I dove into the deal more. And I wasn't gonna buy it because they wanted more, but I ended up getting just a great deal. Got some seller financing, some credits in there. But the hardest part in commercial is the lending side of it, especially right now with our lenders tightening up. Man, I went to the first lender, they couldn't sell the loan off, and I had 500 earnest money at stake. I won it on an online auction, actually, this deal. So I had a huge EMD, 500,000. So, man, it's no joke.
No joke, dude.
Yeah, that's no joke.
Yeah. So my EMD was hard too, and it's anyone listening, if you have 500,000 hard, you're gonna figure it out. And we just
hard EMD stands for non-refundable for you guys that are not. Yeah, for those of you guys that don't know the jargon and the
means
terminology,
you better figure it out, or that thing's it's gonna be real hard because that money's gonna be gone.
That $500,000 is spent whether Indar closes the deal or not. Yeah, so that's what that means.
So we figured it out. The lender changed from 75% LTV down to 70. Okay, I'll make that work, and then down to 57% LTV last minute. So I had to raise another freaking $1 million, just shy of $1 million, and like last minute. So that's why I was scrambling at the end and trying to quickly raise and get it figured out, and we were able to do that. And we got it, and now it's amazing. It's actually a lot better than I thought it would be, and we're buying it. We're buying at $5.5 million, and the market's at an 8 cap, and so we'll refinance at 8 cap and be valued at $8 million. So I'll burr it out, So anyone listening, I do this sometimes. I'll refinance properties into even a higher rate. We bought it at we're actually at a 12%. We ended up using private equity to buy the damn thing. But we'll refinance out at an 8% rate, whatever it is. We don't care about rate. We care about velocity and money. And the quicker I can refinance out, take all of my investors, we have about $2 million to take out of the deal. We'll take that $2 million back out. I can redeploy that to buy more money, more deals, and make it move quicker, And so we kind of have three phases: buy it now, whatever it takes. Just buy the damn deal, raise rents and do your thing, add value, refinance it out, get all your money back out. And then when the market comes back around in 2-3 years, whatever that is, my crystal ball is broken, so I don't know. We'll do a rate and term, and we'll just swap our existing loan for a newer, cheaper loan, and then let it live in that cheaper loan. And it cash flows all the way down this thing, but that's our final, resting loan. So it's not like an overnight kind of like, oh, I bought it and, it's going to be amazing right away. It's a process, but
yeah. And I mean, you said it was 8 months to do the initial acquisition, right? Yeah. What does the value add component look like? Is it another 12, 18, 24 months? Is it faster than that? So like walk people through not just the life cycle of the deal, but the amount of patience you have to see on this thing, right? Because you're 8 months worth of work with no guarantee that you're going to get paid. Plus you got $500,000 on the line the entire time, right? Then you got to probably put some more money on the value add component before you can get to the refi. So you may not be seeing either positive cash flow or cash out refinance proceeds for a couple years down the road. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, we're luckily structured this deal that we do have cash flow right now, just not as much as I want. We did an interest reserve, so I paid up most of my interest for the next 6 months. So it should take us about 6 months. For anyone listening, how the process works, how we value add. In a fix and flip world, we add value by making a new floor, new kitchen, new roof. We're forcing appreciation through actual, making it nice. In the commercial world, multi-family, single family, all these different worlds, we may make a new flooring, new kitchen, new unit, but our value is when we raise rents to that unit. When we put a renter in there and we raise the rent, and then also decrease any expenses. So our value is in our NOI, or net operating income. So our value add is really raising the rents throughout this complex. And we have some renters in there who at the time had 1 year free rents. So those rents will kick in naturally as after a year they kick in. So that's a huge income increase. And then we have some other renters that are coming in right now to rent the place out. And we're almost all triple net. So we're moving everybody to triple net, which is a huge thing as well. Anyone out there knows what triple net is? Triple net is basically the renters. Office Max is one of our renters. They pay the taxes, insurance, they pay the roof, everything. They pay for everything of the property, other than the mortgage. So they cover all your expenses, which also helps with your top line of the property. So it's a big burr. We burr everything from single family houses to big shopping centers.
So was the value add component on this deal, Indar, the thing that made you like it? Was it just the rents were really low? Was it like, what was the big thing? Is that what you went in and identified? So if somebody's looking at one of these deals, they looked at that, like, is that what you looked at?
Yeah, it was the rents. It was these rents were not kicked in yet, and so they didn't value the rents that were not kicked in yet, as well as one of our other renters was scheduled to come in to sign a lease, and they're just coming in now. So we had a potential renter that was coming in just to lease up the thing to get it to 100%. So once we're leased up to 100%, then it's a huge difference because the space was vacant. So yeah, it was just the income raise of the rents, as well as get this last big renter in there. And then we're gonna wait 6 months, because we got to wait 6 months for the to do anything. We'll wait 6 months and a day, and then we'll start that refinance process. Yeah, seasoning. And it's a hard refinancing is not easy either. I mean, people hear about the burr process and all this, man. It's not easy burring properties. Anyone out there think it's just like a walk in the park? Like it's like refinancing, working with banks, and it's a whole animal. Like you need a team, I think, sometimes to work with the banks. The amount of paperwork and things you got to do.
It is, and I mean, the bulk of my experience is on the residential side, and I mean, you said it earlier when you brought up this deal. It's like there's so much volatility right now in the commercial lending space. I only feel like it's probably going to continue to get more volatile as things shake themselves out, right? So, what was your? I mean, there's obviously some risk on your end of the unknown of like, what is this lending environment going to look like in 6 months when we're ready to pull the trigger on it? So, for you, were you thinking the safety net that you had was just, hey, I just bought such a great deal that I felt comfortable even knowing with some of these unknowns? Was that what it was? Or was there anything else that made you feel comfortable pulling the trigger on this thing?
Well, that it will cash flow even at this horrible 12%. We're still making money. We're still all right, even at the 12%. So I'm not putting money out of my pocket. Obviously we'll refinance to an 8% loan. So we'll still be a lot better. So being that the cash flow is so high on this thing off the bat is the biggest thing. I've done some bigger projects as well when we ended up having to put money into the deal and to keep it to fix it up and do it all. But the refinance part's gonna be the next challenge. Calling, like I cold call banks. Like I'll call banks. I'll spend a whole day calling all the banks in that neighborhood or that area, calling all the brokers I know. My learning experience from this one shopping center is I think I would pay for 2 commercial lenders to go all the way down. I would pay for appraisals, everything. Appraisals are $6,000 a pop. They're not cheap. I would pay for appraisals all the way down to the finish line. Don't tell each other about them, and whoever can kind of close a deal, do it. The only cost
is that because you want the insurance in case one of those lenders falls out, or you're shopping the best terms, or both?
No, for the fallout. Yeah, I was lucky enough the seller gave me more time, but you know how like you're shitting a brick sometimes if that seller doesn't want to give you more time, right? There's such a time constraint on our deals, and no one feels. Hey, Lahaina.
We still got your audio, Indar.
Yeah, you can keep going.
She'll switch the cameras here. I think that one died, but we're so much on a time constraint on there it goes on we'll just use this camera. But we're so much on a time constraint that no one else feels it but us. Like escrows and lenders, they're like, oh yeah, we'll get to it. But like we're like, you know what I mean? You guys know that feeling. Like, come on, we're closing tomorrow.
Yep.
And
that's a good nugget, dude. I didn't think about that, and it's like it is almost like a secondary insurance policy on getting the deal done, right? Like because the due diligence is not cheap on a deal like that. I know that for sure, right? So you're putting that money out, but think about the downside of if you're on the 1 yard line and that lender just pulls the plug on the loan, you're going back, and it's not like you can just restart that and in 2 weeks you're closing. You're basically restarting, and it's another 60, 90 days to go through that whole process with another bank if you're lucky. So that's a good nugget, man. Yeah, especially on those larger deals.
Yeah. I think I would do that. Yeah, in 2020 for sure. I mean, I lost actually 26,000 on an escrow. On appraisal. We had this other deal we were buying, and we pulled out last minute, and we lost 26 grand just on appraisals. But we're playing big.
What kind of deal was that?
I was buying 3 buildings in Minnesota. It was actually a Matt Onofre deal actually, and we pulled out. Matt.
Yeah. I just saw the headline with him. Well, good for you. Yeah, you were probably smart. Yeah, chalking that up as cost of doing business.
Yeah. But you got to pay to play sometimes.
Yep.
But I'm into buying more rentals. We're trying to buy package deals too. Look for the older gentleman in his 80s who wants to get rid of his portfolio. I love those types of deals, where we can buy. We bought 37 houses in Connecticut, and it's a lot easier to buy a package of deals and sell off the bad ones. Keep the good houses.
So you brought up something that's important there. I hadn't heard of that person's name, but I just did a Google search, and that's all it took for me to understand what's going on there. how do you protect yourself, as you continue to get in different circles? You're going to meet a lot of incredible people as you level up, because
Mm.
it just starts to filter out on its own,
Yeah.
starts to filter out on its own. The people who are not real, who are not doing things the right way, will, opt themselves out essentially, and not be allowed to be in those circles. But how do you protect yourself? Because as we're looking to surround ourselves with more people, and we understand the power of that, of course. um, what do you do to kind of like make sure? Are you like really selective around who you meet, who you bring into your circle? Are you like trying to meet as many people and you'll just kind of figure it out, or what's your approach to meeting the right people?
I mean, I just naturally hang out with people who are just good people. I live by the law of abundance. There's enough for all of us. There's enough deals for everybody. I mean, I think if me and you, us three were to hang out right now, we would just be an open book to each other. I think once you get success in life, we're just so helpful to each other because there's enough for all of us to succeed, and there's
Yeah.
enough for everybody. And the bad ones naturally weed themselves out, of course. And I was competitive early on, of course, but now once you pass that, now you're like, whatever. There's enough for all of us. And I'm just an open book. Like I was just with Alex Camacho yesterday, and just talking about our struggles and what we're working on, and private conversations with each other. And of course, it's a struggling in a business, and it's hard to grow. I think all of us could have stopped probably a couple years ago and been completely fine in life, but we have this natural growth mentality. And the bad guys kind of just weed themselves out. They just get stuck in their system of whatever their lies or whatever. It just keeps growing and growing, and they just kind of grow off. We're trying to grow, so I think as we're trying to grow, that we just naturally progress to a bigger person, to a more cooler people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. How much would you say of your success right now is attributed to, people that you've been meeting, people you've been partnering with?
Mm.
What would you say that has done to get you to where you're at now?
The education, of course, is huge. I continue to pay for these high-end courses and events, and some of these groups are like, they're not cheap. I go to
Nope.
the Maui Mastermind group. It's like $8,000 to go. It's not cheap. You got to pay to play, of course. But yeah, being around those kind of guys that help push me, and being around smarter people than me, of course. I have a friend here, Jay. He's kind of my partner on some deals, but he's constantly just calling me out on my crap. Like, he's like, "Oh, why did you do that?" and this, and I hate it, but he's so right. And I trust people like that. We were hanging out. You guys would call me on my shit, and it'd just be like, you respect that from each other, and you know. So I think being around those kind of people obviously helps me grow. The education, I guess, of it all. And I think some of it, you just got to put your head down and compete against yourself and grind against yourself. For me, I was bothered sometimes by what somebody else is doing and what they're doing. But, everyone's got different goals in life. Everyone's got a little bit of a different goal. They may have their, family and kid priorities, or they may have their own, they're by themselves and they're trying to everyone's got a different goal. So my competitor is myself, how well I did last year, and am I going to be a little bit better tomorrow? Am I being 1% better tomorrow? That's my challenge.
That's huge, man. And it's such a common theme, I think, too, for, all of us. I think we all have a competitive side when we get in the business, and we have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. But I know as I've ascended, and I think for all three of us, as we continue to ascend, the mindset shifts from that competitiveness to more abundance, collaboration, the things that we're kind of talking about all the time. And it gives us a space where we can give this information away freely and just talk kind of freely about the things that work and don't work, and just try to pass forward the stuff that we've learned that have impacted our business, man. So that's really cool.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah. I think that's just an evolution as you go through your journey. in the early days, you're more competitive because you're in that fight or flight mode. You're just trying to make it. You're just trying to pay your bills. You're just trying to get a little bit extra. And so naturally you're a little bit more competitive because you got to fight for it, because there's such a learning curve to get past that point of just understanding the basics to then getting some traction and then getting consistency. And so, yeah, I think that's just part of the evolution. And then you realize once you're on the other side that there is enough deals for everybody,
So much.
so it's a hard uphill battle, but once you get there, and you'll get there faster if you've got, a coach or a mentor or a good community that you're a part of, then that changes the game,
Huge. Yeah, huge. I'm a big advocate for education. I got an electrical engineering degree, a business degree. I mean, YouTube can only get you so far, of course.
Sure.
That just having a coach, having a group, having a network where they're holding you accountable, having a community where you can bounce ideas off, is huge. If you're not in any kind of group out there, you need to be, and be in multiple groups sometimes is another one, where
true,
they're experts in different sides of it all. That was probably a huge growth for me, is continuing to be in these groups and try them out.
So you mentioned something there about how you're in this period of time right now, how you've been Mr. Hawaii, Mr. Flipper, right? And that is your core competency. And you probably don't want to get rid of that because you've worked so hard to become good at it. But you're also going through a transition where you're shifting more towards cash flow and more passive type of deals. So what in your vision right now, and I know your crystal ball is not working right now, you said, but like where are you at with like where your focus is? Are you still just keeping the gas pedal on the flips? You don't want to let go, but you're trying to put some attention towards more deals, or are you, bringing on more people on your team to help to keep that going and putting more focus elsewhere? What's this process look like for you?
Well, I mean, I did it all for years before, and I was just pounding it out by myself. And the last 2-3 years now, I've been building my team, and that team's been my new growth. And if I can iron out this team and get this team really just focused on flipping and keep my team now managing and doing our flips, we have a goal to net $100 million a year in flips, and that's fine. I'll stick there. And then my other goal is to develop $84,000 a month net in my passive income side of it at all. So to keep my team and growing and bettering my team and really focusing now more on my team and tweaking them and just spending time with each member of my team. Honestly, I love the people I work with. We hang out. 40 hours a week, we're all together, so I like all the people I'm around with. I'm a huge advocate on the personality test and the traits like that. It brings people into the right positions as well. And then, then I'm trying to also build out the rentals portfolio side myself. I'm kind of doing that myself. A few guys on my team, of course, help me. I have an underwriter that's really helpful for that side of it all. I pay for a VA to underwrite my deals overseas. So that's been a big help, having somebody do that.
What did that identity shift look like for you, Indar? Because I know a lot of times, right, it's all hustle and just hard work at the beginning, right? And I feel like a lot of us, like the three of us, probably went through similar things at the beginning. We're just wearing all the hats. And then you reach this point where you just can't progress any further being a one-person army, right? So was it hard for you to release like some of this responsibility and delegate that? I talk to a lot of people that have found some initial success, but they can't let go of the responsibility, and then they just stay at that certain level, and then they just stay stagnant and they don't have any more growth.
Yeah, it's tough. I remember 2018 or so, I was like, I'm good. Like I'm doing 20, 30 flips a year. I'm good. We make a ton from our flips. I didn't need to do any more. So I wasn't progressing my growth anymore because I was like, I'm good. Like we're making, close to $1 million and I'm good. And then I decided, man, I'm doing this all by myself. It's tough. And first hired a VA. The VAs obviously are the best hires right off the bat, helping with just some of the paperwork and closing docs and some of that. And then we got an admin and then a full-time bookkeeper. Now we have a social media sales guy, acquisition. We have multiple VAs we have a bunch of Airbnbs, and we manage our rental properties here in Hawaii. So we have a team of a few people for that. So as you grow, it's a struggle. I'm not an expert at the growth, and I'm not going to say I'm great at it. I just keep learning as I grow, and I make mistakes. I made some bad hires, and I learned from that mistake. I can share with you guys. I hired somebody and I taught him everything. He was like my right-hand man, doing everything for me. Ended up kind of screwing me over, and parted ways. But now in hindsight, in 2020, now I need to build a company. I don't need a right-hand man. I need a company. So I needed to partnerize. I needed a sales guy. I needed an underwriter. I needed a transaction coordinator. I was trying to have somebody do all of those tasks.
It's tough when there's like one person that's like a single point of failure for so many different things. You lose that one person, and it feels like your whole business goes sideways like overnight. And I know I've gone through that same thing, dude. I'm sure Dean has. It can be scary. So it's smart to identify roles within your business, hire people where their personality matches that role, and then you kind of mitigate some of your risk as a business owner. So if you lose that one person, it doesn't totally throw everything out of whack. So that's another really good piece of advice as you're in this growth stage as a business owner and trying to remove yourself from some of the day-to-day stuff. It's like the one thing they don't teach you in like how to scale and grow a business. Like that's just something we just learn as entrepreneurs. I think I wish they taught that kind of stuff in school.
Well, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I know we've known each other for a long time. It's been just super fun to watch your journey. I know like you're probably feeling similar to the way I feel, to where you've worked so long to get here. And now that you have like new perspective, you feel like you're probably just getting started. Like there's so much more that you can do. There's so much more that you're excited about, and your capacity, your potential just keeps growing. So I'm excited to go along the journey with you and keep watching. Been great to have you on the Deal Champs podcast, and we'll definitely be watching your journey.
Yeah, thank you, Dean. Thank you, Jason. It's good hanging out. Good talking store with you guys. And if you ever come in Hawaii, man, I got 9 Airbnbs. You can come stay at one, or I know Dean's got a big family.
You don't got to twist my arm, dude.
Did you just hear that open invite right there? Let's go.
You don't need to twist my arm. I'll be there, bro.
You guys know my buddy Alex. He's always hitting up my Airbnbs. He's always over here. So come.
Hang out. Expect a text very soon, and that's not a joke. Right. I'm taking
not
that.
Not a bad place to visit.
I'm not hesitating. So thanks for everybody for watching the Deal Champs podcast. Again, if you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. You can check all of us out at Jason Pritchard on Instagram, at Dean Rogers Real Estate, and at Indar Hawaii. What a great guest to have today. And again, thanks so much for coming on, Indar.
Thank you, guys. Thanks you for having me. Awesome hanging out. Thank you. Aloha. Aloha, everybody.
Peace. Aloha.
Aloha.